Yes. I just started.
Or just order it now?
Order a little bit. All right. Going live. Instagram and YouTube. This is Benching and Bullshitting. I haven't gone on here in a little while. We were on a trip. We were Scott Wendelson. Oh, boy. USPA drama. I figured that was going to be a topic of conversation today. So we're going to just talk and just kind of do what we normally do and just do some benching and bullshitting, talking about stuff. Yeah, so I was not on here last weekend. We were actually at Elite FTS in London, Ohio. Pretty cool venue, pretty cool setup. My lighting is horrible for YouTube, per usual, so I apologize for that. I've got Instagram over here and YouTube over here. So we'll just talk about what's going on. But I suppose everybody's wanting to know my take on the USPA thing. I will only spend a second or two talking about that right out the gate to get it out of the way so we can move on to the... So here we go. Yeah, USPA drama. Okay. So here's my thing. I'm not going to talk much about it because I want to get to the subject matter. What? Yeah. He's with me.
I didn't know it was like, where the fuck did you go?
So anyway, my take on the whole matter is I have been very vocal. I have been very outspoken about how much that I despise the USPA. I mean, I've been telling stories about my terrible experiences with them for probably 3 or 4 years now. So it affects me not. I feel I feel for those who are negatively affected by it. My heart and goes out to them, but I have nothing else really to say about it. It's unfortunate. Basically what I'm going to do is just eat my popcorn, sit back, and watch the show. So there you go. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I wanted to get that out of the way before we, bench and bullshit. So again, last week we were in London, Ohio at Elite FTS, and thank you for tuning in if you did to the Table Talk podcast with Dave Tate. I had a fantastic fucking time. I will get to questions in just a second. I want to catch up. Tips for developing a bench arch. That comes from the lower body, George. Your lower body needs to be engaged. That is how you get a big arch. You have to push through the floor towards the wall in front of you. Don't push straight down into the floor because the adverse force, you push straight down, your ass is going to go straight up. So make sure you're pushing away. You don't want to push straight down. So yeah, Travis has 3 weeks out from what was supposed to be a USPA meet in Chico meet here. Oop. Yep. Must have been Ohio then, right? Yep. Anyway, but so that's where a bench arch is developed, is from the lower body. You also need extreme back strength and also some back endurance to maintain the arch. It takes endurance as well to maintain it, because some people get a good arch, then once they get a weight in their hands and the lift is a long grueling set or a long grueling single, the arch starts to go down. So that is something you really have to work on as well. So it's lower body engagement, constant lower body engagement, plus back strength and back endurance. Anyway, so Elite FTS, it was fucking awesome. That's our second time being at Elite FTS, their new location. I was at their old location one time in 2013, 2014. I was up there just about 4 months ago for a local event that we went to back at hometown. Went over to Elite FTS, did some bench pressing, came back and conducted the rest of our trip. But I finally got invited onto the Table Talk podcast, and it was a fantastic time. I really enjoyed it. Talking with Dave. The more I interact with Dave Tate, the more I like him. he's just a really good guy. Really happy to be on there. So anyway, so we did that. I had a pretty good workout while I was there. I wanted to actually get a PR set, and I had hopes of tripling 1,300 pounds. I ended up doubling it. What was happening? We've discovered each time I bench, each time we go to a new gym or do whatever, I'm learning things. I'm constantly learning things. And what happens is when you have an F8 Sportcraft bench bar, the stiffest, most high weight capacity bar on the market right now, when you have weight loaded far out to the ends via pound plates, 100-pound plates, that tends to have the bar reverberate and oscillate and whip severely. Those bars are fantastic when you have kilos, all kilos, and the weight is nice and compact. We have no trouble with F8 bars in the gym because we have all kilos on the bar. You start adding pound plates, and then you start getting whip. And that's what happened. So I took the weight out. It was also a crew who has never handled me except for Amber. Amber was the only member who has handled me before who was there, who was actually in the middle. And took the weight out. The handoff was rough. So I had to steady it for a few seconds, trying to get some air before going down for the first rep. Came up on the first rep, and I had more whip, so I had to try to correct it, get more air. So to try and do that a third time was just not going to happen that day. So I felt like I had the energy for it, but there was so much whip I had to deal with. So again, I did not walk away from Elite FTS with a PR. However, a successful set with 1,300 pounds. I wanted a triple, but I got a double. Oh, I have a good question here from S Compound 308. Advice for lowering bar faster in a shirt. Can't seem to figure out how to release while still engaging to lower weight faster. So you just have to, that's a balancing act. It really is. You have to lower the weight with intent. I'm not saying get loose. You never want to get loose, but you have to learn how to give the weight to the material of the shirt. You can't resist. If you resist against the weight like a raw bench, and then you have the shirt resisting against the weight as well, it's never going to touch. So you have to learn to back off a little bit and trust the shirt, give the weight to the material so it can do what it's supposed to do and deform and stretch. Whether you're using a poly denim or a band shirt, the principle still applies. It's very hard to do. It's just about repetition and learning how to back off while maintaining that tightness. You don't want to lose all of it, but you also have to get the weight down. One Big Impact says, in your opinion, is a caloric surplus needed for adding strength? Abso-fucking-lutely, it's needed. That was one of the biggest things I discovered. Once I backed off on how much protein I was taking in, paid more attention to caloric intake, my strength skyrocketed through the fucking roof. You have to be in a caloric, not a deficit, but a surplus. That is the right word, surplus. Do you think kilo plates are better? SBD. I'm not sure that second part, SBD. I think SBD sucks, but I do think kilo plates are. Oh, you mean for squat, bench, and deadlift? Okay. For squat and bench, you're not going to notice a difference. For deadlift, I feel like they suck. From what I've told, it's very hard to deadlift with all kilos as opposed to all pounds. But I don't deadlift. Cohen Buffenmeyer says, any tips on being consistent on where you bench to in terms of where the bar touches your stomach? Well, you have to know where that sweet spot is on your stomach, whether it's the upper ab, the upper ribs, mid abs, whatever it is. Learn what your elbow positioning needs to be optimal. Again, a lot of these things are just repetition. There's no one cue I can give you. A lot of these things I've learned over the years is simply just by repetition, over and over and over again. Learn where your elbows need to be. Make sure that I hate using this new age bullshit term to describe this, but there's no other way I can think of at the moment. You got to stay stacked. I hate saying that. You have to, if you're coming down with a bench and your forearms are starting to lean backwards, that's no longer stacked. So stacked means keeping everything on top of one another. Everything is stacked vertically. So you have to learn to maintain that as well while paying attention to your elbow position, where you're touching, bellying up. There's a lot that goes into it. Italian Tank. Have you had any plateaus stuck at a number? If so, what do you recommend? I got you, SBD. I got you. Plateaus. Oh, fuck yeah. Plateaus are sucky, but they're easy to get through. You have to change everything you're doing. What you are currently doing is not working. Plan A will get you result A. Plan A will not get you results B, C, D, E, F, G. You have to do different plans to attain your new goals. Kristen something 95 says, what are your thoughts on close grip incline bench as a carryover for F8 equipped bench? And would you recommend using a Widowmaker? I think incline kind of has a stale factor to it. I don't think it has a shitload of carryover. I'd rather see somebody put more of their effort into something that's going to mimic the competitive lift itself. So we compete on the flat bench. So I'd rather see you do like close grip flat bench with a Widowmaker, absolutely, or reverse grip flat bench with a Widowmaker. If you want to, for the sake of variety, if your training is getting stale and you need to change up, sure, I think incline would be fine. I've never seen somebody use any sort of like Widowmaker or bench device on incline before, but it could be kind of cool. Sure, go for it. Lifter Luke says, heard you on Table Talk talking about oscillation versus whip. Could you explain that? So whip would be just like the bars kind of whipping up and down or possibly side to side. I've experienced both. Oscillation is like it's going in a circle like this. It's impossible to stop. I also just drank a weight gain shake, so I apologize if I have like burps and stuff coming up like that. So oscillation is like a circular motion as opposed to like in one direction, like up and down, side to side. Trying to catch up. What's Widowmaker? That is the F8 brand, a bench tool similar to a Titan Ram or a Mark Bell Slingshot or a metal catapult. It's just the brand name. It's a loop of bands, wrap material that goes around the arms, similar to a slinger. And Cody, yes, I'm glad I tuned in. Glad I got to watch you bench. Very close to in person, not quite. Hopefully someday we'll actually be physically in person. I have missed a few top end shirted benches at the very top end. Okay, usually PR attempts. Okay, very common for people to do that. I've been doing lockout stuff, pin presses, high board extension, high board presses, etc. Have you any ideas for this? Keep doing it. Don't focus so much on like heavy weight for low reps. This is going to sound really stupid. Focus on heavy weight for high reps. Yeah, heavy and high reps, which is possible to do when you have like that much range of motion, like the top 2 to 3 inches or less. You can take really heavy weight and do sets of 20 with it. You have to have that muscular endurance under the heavy load. We're not benching lightweight. We're benching heavyweight. So you have to have the ability to have your strength last a long time. If you have absolute strength but no endurance to go with it, and that strength only lasts a few seconds, then it's not going to matter much when it comes to like your all out, like heavy attempts. You have to train high weight for high reps, which is easy to do as well. Like I said, with limited range of motion, but also if you use like a slinger or some kind of bench tool, like your catapult. I know you have a catapult there, Cody Plum, and you can do lockouts with that catapult on. Very easy way to do that. Okay, I'm caught up finally. I like answer. I try to get to as many questions as I possibly can. Cody says that makes sense. Should I do those shirted or gear deficient? I would do them gear deficient, but still somewhat geared. So like I know you have that metal catapult. That'd be an excellent way. So you could set up with your metal catapult with the top 2 inches of range of motion and do like 5 sets of 20, like 100 fucking reps with like 500 pounds. Knowing you and knowing your strength level, I think that would be a good weight to use. Would be like 500 pounds, and you can do that. All you have, that piece takes your pecs completely out of the mindset. So all you have to do once you're under the bar, all you have to focus on is just extending out of the bottom or off the pins. And the thing is too, like we lock weights out different when you're in a piece of equipment than you do raw. A raw bench is not an equip bench. Equip bench is not a raw bench. So I found it more beneficial to train lockout with a piece on that's similar to a bench shirt. That way I'm locking out, training the lockout, that is, like I would if I was in a shirt. Jibidan says, Jimmy just had an awesome workout. Thanks for the inspiration. Good. Oh, Jimmy, you're doing good things, Chris. I really enjoyed working with you, man. I'm glad. I think you told me you don't have much time left. I'm not sure what you meant exactly, but yeah, I'm glad your bench is finally breaking through that plateau. It seemed like you were stuck in a plateau for quite some time. Let's see. I'm happy. That's fucking awesome. What's your thoughts on pin presses and speed bench press with bands or chains? Okay, I like pin extensions. Don't call it a press, because if you do call it a press, that's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to press off the pins. I'm talking like top end, not like bottom end dead stop pin press. You got to extend. You have to learn to extend. Everything's about extending with the triceps. Extend off the pins. Speed work is stupid. Bands and chains are also very stupid. I hate all that shit. I can literally tell you on 2 occasions in 2022 where I used chain weight on bench. It was literally twice. Bands, once. For sake of variety. Otherwise, speed work and all that crap is a waste of time, in my opinion. Okay? Dividend says, I used a football bar since I can't really do reverse grip. Cool. Might be onto something. Use the RAM. Fantastic. Good deal, man. That is great to hear. Are you I don't know what the UK, maybe you and Tom Shepard. Typo. Oh, are you? Oh, here we go. Well, what we got here? Are you planning on coming to the UK? Maybe you and Tom Shepard are getting something. Calais and Emma Uleto James wanted us to come out to the UK and travel with them with the WPC and host seminars along the way in all their places. So it's been talked about. I just don't know when that's going to happen. We just got to make time, I guess. But yeah, Tom Shepard is one of the most caring, kind, considerate people I've ever met. Just a good fucking guy. Really glad to have interacted extensively with Tom Shepard. Over on YouTube, Mario Ramirez says, I noticed a lot of equipped lifters have mouth guards. I was curious if that was to protect the teeth or does it help with force production too? No, I'm assuming I don't do this, but a lot of lifters will clench and grind their teeth under a heavy load. I mean, Scott Mendelson was one that always wore a mouth guard. He'd be a great person to ask. For me, I've never had that issue. So I think it's just to protect the teeth. I've actually tried, when I was a little more young and influential by people, I used to oh, Scott wears a mouth guard. I'm going to wear a mouth guard too. So I tried one, and just having that extra space between my teeth, something to bite down on, actually was extraordinarily uncomfortable for me. I do think it's just to protect the teeth. I don't think it has anything to do with force production. What's that mouth guard company that would probably argue with me? They're real popular. They're the back molar mouth guards that everybody fucking wears. What are they called? A lot of the strongmen use them. Forget their name now, but they claim that their mouth guard can put your entire body in alignment by pulling the. I don't know how the fuck they say it or how it works. They claim that it can help you lift more weight or perform better. I gotta let the dog out of my office here. Just give me 1 second. Jesus Christ, Walter. Come on. Okay. I am back. That was quick. All right. So back to business. What we got here? Let's see. Gotta catch up here. Let me look. Lucas Pribble, are you planning on being at the Arnold? I am always at the Arnold. I will be in the Anderson booth all 3 days, minus Sunday at noon. I'm doing the Last Man Standing this year. There you go. New Age. Yeah, New Age. Thank you, Dennis. On YouTube, it was New Age. That are the mouth guards that are mouth guards for the back molars that they claim can change your entire athletic performance. I can't dispute it and or back it up because I don't fucking know if that's a thing, and I've never tried it. So, yes, I will be at the Arnold. I am about to pay my entry into the Last Man Standing. I will be competing on the Rogue stage Sunday at noon. Dennis also, I tried them and I wasn't big on it. Okay, I figured as much. I think it's a lot of hype. I don't really understand the mouth guard thing. Keith Stitch, what's up, bud? I bit down on the side of my mouth once. That's why I wear one. See that there's testament right there. That's just mainly for protection. Keith bit the side of his mouth, and Scott probably grinds his teeth. So there's thank you, appreciate that. And then Jibiden, I use chains for the sake of variety, like you said. Also to throttle me. Do you think the accommodating resistance is more beneficial to lifters around my level? I will say, I've said this publicly. I've said this on Table Talk. I said that take everything I say with a grain of, I am coming from a bench-only perspective, from a bench-only mindset, world, however you want to word it. I do think chains and bands and dynamic stuff have great value with squat and deadlift. I just don't think it works with bench. I've always said that. I've always believed that. Around your level, I mean, you're a top end lifter, Chris. So, no, still for bench, like I always say, for the sake of variety, probably a good idea. Like I might actually do a chain setup that my buddy Brian set up wants me to try for like floor press or something. But for actually like building the bench, I mean, again, we don't compete with bands, we don't compete with chains, we don't compete on a box squat, we don't compete with specialty bars. But for the sake of building strength and variety, once in a while is probably fine. I gotta catch up on YouTube real quick. Hybrid. Do you notice any differences in pressing between bench aids that close around the arm, like the supercharged RAM, and bench aids that are open, like the F8 Widowmaker benchman? Good question. Do I notice any differences? No difference. Everything, all those bench aids are made of wrap material. How it be, even different types of wraps, but wrap to wrap. Same principle applies. A little bit of compression, mostly elastic energy storage. The Widowmaker style is easier to use, easier to get on and off, less complicated. So in my mind, superior. The supercharged RAMs are great. I've had a lot of success with those. My highest bench in a supercharged RAM was 1,050, I believe. Looks similar to a shirt with the arm cuffs and the flat panel chest, all that. But in terms of actual pressing, I've not noticed hardly any difference at all. And then Hybrid also asks, do you notice any differences in pressing between? Oh, you asked the same. I got you. Yeah, that's my answer. There it is. Not too much difference, no. Do you like using a Titan RAM to reverse grip bench in? Yes, I've done it before. I've actually reverse grip benched with my Widowmakers. My best performance so far is 900 for a triple. I still want to bench 1,000 pounds reverse grip. What's holding me back on that is the pain in my fucking palms from the bar sitting vertically in the hand like that. It fucking hurts, but I do that a lot. It's good shit. Yeah, it's not practical with enormous weights. Yeah. Cody says, Jimmy, you are our Ryan Kennelly. Oh, I only hope that someday I could be looked at like Ryan. I only hope that I can live and do enough and accomplish enough to someday be comparable to Ryan Kennelly. He is my still living fucking hero and true inspiration. So a lot of love and respect to Ryan. I hope I can be like him someday. Jividen, I have primarily been using straight weight. Cool, me too. But wanted to baby my elbows and throttle myself some. Also the variety I love. That's great. No, that's fantastic. I completely agree with that. Lucas Purple says, awesome. I compete on Sunday as well. Look to hit 600 single ply at 198. Good. 600 single ply 198 in the USAPL. That's impressive. That's a good. I'm rooting for you. That's a big bench, especially in that Fed. I love the axle bar floor press with chains. Feels like sex. That's good. That's awesome. Good. Okay, I'm caught up again. Fantastic. Good deal. So anyway, we're gonna just before I get any more questions, but had a workout this weekend that was fucking fantastic. I'm competing 2 weeks from Saturday, so not this weekend, but the coming weekend at Chris Jividen's meet over in West Virginia. Looking forward to it. Had a really good workout. Took 1,300 and 1,353 to a half board. Blew each one up. Very, very good. I'm minimal pain in the forearms, which is fucking awesome. So, yeah. So now I'm looking forward to that. I had a fantastic day. It was all put on Patreon, of course. We have Patreon for $10 a month, and we also have YouTube members over here. I think it's slightly less than $10. I forget exactly. It's like 9 something. But that's where I put all my workout videos, end to end, 5 to 6 days a week, fully commentary, talking about what I'm doing, showing everything. The Hillbilly Havoc. I think that's what it's called, Keith. That's right. The Hillbilly. I know Hillbilly's in the name. I'm not sure about the Havoc part, but Chris is on here. He can confirm that for you, I think. Jibadan, what the name of your meat? Yeah, the time is right. I have a good feeling about the meat. I got a good feeling too. I'm feeling very confident. I'm feeling very strong. Smartly and or intelligently, rather, I got back on Weight Gainer. Yes, Hillbilly Havoc. Good. I was not taking Weight Gainer for a while. After my meet in November, I stopped taking Weight Gainer. I don't know why. I think I finally reached the point of diminishing return in terms of like my body weight. I was 342. Now keep in mind I'm 5'5". I was 342 rolling into that meet. I could barely fucking walk. I had a constant back pump. Couldn't do anything. Couldn't move. And I bombed out. Now there was varying circumstances with like the 100-pound plates and the stiff F8 bars, which I've learned that like that's not good. That's not conducive. So this type of lift is only going to happen with very, very specific circumstances. So like, so Chris, thank you for like 14-inch pads, F8 bench bars, kilo plates, all things that Chris is diligently supplying at this meet coming up in a couple of weeks. So it should be good circumstances. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm feeling really good. Back on the Weight Gainer, high calorie intake. And lo and behold, I get really fucking strong off of that. Also, element packets, which I have my canteen right here, my yellow canteen from Chad Ikes. I've riddled in my stickers. And I fill that up with water, put 1 packet of element, which is 1,000 milligrams of sodium. Drink that within a day to a day and a half. Fill it back up, put a sodium packet in it, and continue to drink it. High intake of calories, higher-ish intake of sodium per week, and I get really fucking strong. Good question from CJ Bose. What are you doing the next 2 weeks to peak for your next meet? The thing is, I don't peak. I've never peaked. I've never cycled. I've never periodized. I've never nothing. I've never peaked. So basically, like I went heavy on Saturday, really fucking heavy, 1353 to a half board. This Wednesday, I'll go nuts. I'll just do my normal thing. I think I'm doing a floor press variation that Brian's going to help me set up. But he wants me to try. What's up, Tim? How you doing? And then on Saturday, this coming Saturday, I will get in my shirt. I'll probably just go up to 12, maybe 1250-ish, 12 and a half, and do that. And then just train normal. I'll be in the gym up until the next Wednesday before the meet. We're traveling on Thursday to get out there. That's about a 5 or 6 hour drive. Rest up on Thursday, Friday, compete Saturday. Like I don't cycle, I don't peak. I just lift heavy year round. I'm like always prepared for a meet because I'm always training heavy. That's how I've always done it. Hybrid. Is the pad you train on in the bench rack 14 inches? It is now 14 inches. It wasn't 14 inches for a long time up until about 4 weeks ago. We finally got our first custom-made 14-inch pad from Edge Fitness. That's EDGE, Edge Fitness from Canton, Ohio. Is a good friend of mine named Rick Davis. Made me a custom 14-inch pad. It's really fucking stiff. It's not a Tempur-Pedic pad that's like that like compresses really easy. It's a very stiff pad. You need a firm, stiff platform to push from. If you lay down on the pad and it goes and depresses like 6 inches, that's not a good pad to lay on. That's not a firm base to push from. So he made me that pad. I took my tools. I made a couple of holes, put some inserts in there, bolts, and then yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, 14-inch pad is now legal in the IPA. Fuck yeah! In my competitive career, I wanted to see a 14-inch pad be legalized for meets, and it is. So I'm very happy about that. Heaviest SBD in one session before. I've never trained SBD. SBD is stupid. Never done that. I have 1 day for squats, 1 day for bench, and 1 day for back, and 1 day for secondary bench, and 1 day for legs and arms. And I don't train SBD. That's like a new age, teenage thing. I'm moving from a Fury to a Katana. Cool. I need it broken in by July. You have plenty of time. Besides being patient, water, and boards, do you have any tips for breaking it in? The first 3 or 4 sessions, you have to use very, very light weight. If you're a 500-pound bencher, I'm talking like 225, 275. Take the weight out, add some water to the chest, not a lot, and just do little quarter reps for like 3 sets of 10. You have to break in these tight ass fucking fibers very, very slowly over about 3 to 4 sessions before you even consider putting heavy weight on the bar and to going down to board, start working your way down. So you have to do that first. You try to take weights straight out and going down to the boards, you could have a blowout. So break them in slow. And then on the third, fourth, maybe fifth workout, then you start taking heavy weight down the boards and work your way down the boards the classic way. Heaviest squat and deadlift ever in your career? Oh, okay, so that's better. Heaviest bench, 1,320 pounds in an officiated competition, IPA, for the heaviest lift ever done in powerlifting history ever. I've raw squatted 855 in the gym. When I was like 20 years old, I squatted 900 in a full meet equipped. I've deadlifted 7 in that same full meet. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think that covers it. Any interest in trying grip related lifts? Not right now, because grip has very little to do with what I'm currently interested in, which is bench press. When I finally go back to full power, I'm doing the prep work for it now. I'm trying to train lower body again, train the posterior chain, ass, hamstrings, lower back. Once I do that, I'll have to train grip probably, because I'll have to deadlift and work on my mobility so I can actually supinate and do a mixed trip on a deadlift fucking bar. I can't do that right now. I'm too stiff and immobile. So once I go back to full power, like actually commit to it, I will need to develop some better grip strength for the deadlift. So I might have to get into some like grip related lifts. But for now, I put the blinders on. I mean, it's like this right now. Like I'm doing bench only with a couple of big goals. So like if this is full power, like I'm like right here right now. Like no, I don't have any room or time to train grip. Forearm work is something I do on the regular, but grip training itself, not so much. What is your split for the week? Let's see. I don't train on Mondays and Fridays. I do back work on Tuesday. I have a back thickness day on Tuesday mornings, which I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Non-shirted accessory bench day on Wednesdays. A back width day on Thursdays, coupled with rear delts. Saturday is heavy equipped bench, and then Sunday is lower body. That's how I do it. Thomas, what's up? I think the Lily Bridge method would be a good idea for you. Full power. Stan Efferding did the same for his strongest IFBB pro title. I will look into it. Right now, I mean, here's the thing. I've made it public. I've told my group and I've told my wife, as much as she might not sleep at night because of it. But once I bench 1,500, and I'm not that I didn't stutter on that number. Like I'm being serious. When I achieve a 1,500-pound bench, that is when I will truly, I believe, we'll see when I get there, but I do believe that is a lift, that is a number that I could be truly happy with and walk away from bench only for a while and pursue other things like full power, not other sports, obviously, but full power. So that's going to take a while. That's going to take some time and training, some serious time and training. So I'm still trying to crack away and get 1,400. So once I get 1,500, then I will pursue full power. So in the meantime, and my patrons and YouTube members are already witnessing this, but I am currently doing all the prep work, training lower body right now, to cut instead of just going full in and doing like straight bar suited, straight bar briefs, back squats, whatever, and fucking up my shoulders and my body. Rather, I'm doing all the prep work like specialty bars, light briefs, box squats, deadlifts, belt squat stuff, belt squat RDLs. And yeah, Thomas, email it if you could. That would be fantastic if you could just email that to me. 2-time deadlift per month. Okay, yeah, just send that over. I know he was raw, however. I think Lily Bridge was always raw. So it might be 2 times squat, 2 time deadlift per month. Squat, deadlift for 4 weeks. Oh, that might be good. Send it anyway. Send it on over. I'll take a look at it. That'd be great. So that's kind of the long-term schedule of events, I suppose. Like I said, I'm still cracking away, but they do train in wraps. You're right. That's right. I'm still cracking away and training for the 1,400-pound lift. It's very fucking heavy. I'm not going to bullshit you at all. It is just, oftentimes, I forgot to mention this on the podcast with Dave, but like, it doesn't even feel like I'm doing a bench press. That's the hard thing. It doesn't even, when I get to a certain weight, like 1,200 pounds is pretty, like, that's not even fuck that. That's not a big deal. When I go up to 13 plus, 14 plus, it doesn't even feel like I'm doing a bench press. It's just shearing forces. It doesn't even feel like I'm actually like doing anything. It's just pain. That's all it is. There's no like, I'm not 16 years old anymore, just walking into any commercial gym and grabbing the nearest 45-pound bar and just repping out 1 and 2 plates, and feeling the motion, feeling the movement of the bench press. I'm under that much load. It's just pain and pressure. There's nothing else going on. That is where I'm at right now. So, so that's, it's just crazy. It's fucking insane. So, anyhow, but moving on. So anyway, we're training for that meet. Got a meet in 2 weeks. Things are going fucking really, really well. Everything's going up. Again, I got back on the weight gainer. I'm always drinking the Element packets, LMNT. That's drinkelement.com. I've tried almost all their flavors. Dave Tate really likes the watermelon. I hate almost everything watermelon except for an actual watermelon itself. It always tastes like cheap fucking bubble gum, But the raspberry is my absolute favorite right now. I've tried the citrus. I've tried the orange, the raw, unflavored one. But the raspberry is so far like the best one. And my higher sodium content throughout the entire week, I get really strong off of that. And I get really strong off of being in a caloric surplus, having high calorie intake. So that's very, very important for me. I don't know why I got off that shit. I think it was because after my meet in November, literally in a week, I lost 12 pounds. Yeah, like I was hanging on to that much weight because I was trying to be as heavy as possible to bench as much as possible. But like I mentioned earlier in this podcast, I have reached the point of diminishing return. So right now I'm taking the weight gainer for the calories for the strength gain, where in that situation, I was taking the weight gainer purely just to put on weight. And like I said, it did nothing for me. So that's where we're at with that. Furthermore, after this meet in February, we're going to the Arnold Classic. So I'm looking forward to that. Love going to the Arnold Classic. We will be in the Anderson Powerlifting booth the whole weekend. I will be absent in the booth, probably from like 11 to 1:30 probably for the last man standing bench press competition. I'm finally going to do it this year. Haven't done it before. It's a different form of competing, which is kind of interesting and exciting. It's basically the heavyweights, which I am. All the heavyweights on the roster start at 750. Everybody does 750. Bar goes up 50 pounds to 800. Everybody does 800, then 850, 900, 950, 1,000, whatever. And as the weight goes up, when people start missing, so if you miss 800, everybody else goes to 850, you have to repeat 800. If you miss it again, you're out. So the last man standing, the guy who lasts the longest, does the most attempts in consecutive weight, is the winner. That's how this works. Now, when I won the Arnold in 2014, it was just biggest bench wins within 3 attempts. Now, there was a designated opener for everybody. All the heavyweights had to open at 8. The lightweights opened at 7, if I'm not mistaken. It was a long time ago. So all the heavyweights opened at 8, and then attempts 2 and 3, you could do whatever you wanted. So I jumped to, this is actually kind of a cool story. So Jake Talk about a stacked roster in 2014. Me, Matt Hauser, Alan Baria, Jake Prazak, frickin' Mike Womack. Hope I didn't say that name twice. Tiny Meeker. There was a shitload of heavyweight, just like legends in the sport at the time. So everybody did 800 pounds. On the second attempts, Jake Prazak, who was the current 242, well, not current now, but who was the current 242 record holder at 920. 920 bench at 242. I had benched 903 at 242 in single ply, so I was like number 2 behind him or something. So on his second attempt, this is the meet he retired in, by the way. This was his last meet of his career. So he jumped to 925 to break his own record. He missed it. I had already planned. I knew what I was going. I jumped to 950 on my second. I missed it. And Tiny Meeker had his famous 200-pound misload on a second attempt. He called for 1,050, and they loaded him 1,250. That happened. They loaded an extra 100-pound plate per side and got misloaded by 200 fucking pounds. The biggest misload in the history of the sport. And it really fucked him up. That was not a good day for him. Anyway, went back around to third attempts. Prazak is like 2 guys behind me. Prazak benched 925 to break his own standing all-time world record bench 242. One more guy went after him, and then I went. And I benched 950 successfully on my third, breaking his record that he had just set and had for about 5 minutes. That was a good fucking day. Holy shit. Took my wraps off, threw them into the fucking crowd, and there was like 1,000 people out watching this on the main stage of the Arnold, you know. That was one of the best damn meets of my life. What a blast. It was the first time I ever made money in the sport too. Yep. First time I ever got paid. I won, I think it was $2,000. That was special at 24. I was 24 years old at the time. So it took me 10 years, 14 to 24 to finally get some payment out of the sport. So that was fucking awesome though. So, Ethan over on YouTube says, hello, Jimmy. You almost to the 2,000 subs. So close, Daddy. Where am I at, actually? I can't even see it. 1,900 and some? Must be. Yeah, okay. I guess we're pretty close to 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's awesome. I remember achieving 1,000. But 2,000, I think we're close. I have not looked at it recently. So I thank you for the update. I appreciate that. So that's exciting. Going back to the Arnold to compete for the first time since 2015. I came back to the Arnold in 2015 to repeat the title. Again, it was still biggest bench wins at that time. Regardless of body weight, if you were a 220 and up, you were a heavyweight. That's it. If you were 220 or below 220, you were lightweight. That's it. Biggest bench wins, period. I attempted 1,000 pounds back at the age of 24. I was attempting 1,000 pounds, or I think I was 25. So this is the following Arnold. My birthday's in May. Okay. So it's 25. I was attempting 1,000 pounds on the bench back then, and I missed it both times. I bombed out of the Arnold. That was my last meet before joining the Marines. So, yeah, weird spot in my life. Let's see. What size katanas were you wearing when you were in poly? Well, at 300-ish pounds, 305, I was squeezing into a 50 with a downsized chest. So when I got it from Anderson Powerlifting, which is a great way to get your bench press equipment, you can use a code, which is Kolb Strong right there for 10% off any order. Okay, 10% off. Not a commission thing. It's just a discount for you. When I got it from Anderson, it was a 50 with a 48 or a 46 chest. So the chest was downsized from the factory. That's what I used. So when I benched, my first single ply bench in 2021 was 1,050. My first 1,000-pound bench was 1,035 at 273 March of 2020. And all that COVID bullshit happened. I couldn't compete until the next January 21. In single ply, I surpassed my multiply by 15 pounds, did 1,050. 2 months later in March, I would do 1,080 at the Baddest Bencher 1. And then about 2 or 3 months later in June, I would bench 1,120 in the exact same shirt with no alterations. What kept the shirt working so well was that I kept going up in body weight. So at 1,050, I weigh. Oh, what's up, Paul? 1,050, I weighed about in the 280s, maybe 280 flat. When I benched 1,080, I weighed like 290 or 292. And when I benched 1120 in that exact same shirt with no alterations, I was like 300 flat, 297, I think. So that was special. And people ask me like, which lift is more important, either the 1120 single ply or the 1320 and the unlimited. I'm like, that's hard because the 1120 single ply will definitely live in infamy for me, like in my mind. It's one of my greatest achievements ever until I break it again. Gotta stay optimistic. But because that was the heaviest bench in history, regardless of age, weight class, drugs, no drugs, equipment being used. I did that in single ply. So if I would have put a band shirt on and benched like 1,000 or 1150 or something just slightly over, obviously the single ply mark would completely outdo the band shirt thing. But because my very first meet in a band shirt, I did 1320. That's, I mean, arguably that's pretty nuts. So they're both very equal in their own respect. Because that's how I tell people. It's very hard to like get it out. Like that's kind of it's kind of long-winded like that, but that's how I have to describe it. Like, again, if I would have only benched like 1150 in a band shirt and I had just done 1120 in a single ply poly, then that wouldn't really make a lot of sense. But because I surpassed the biggest squat ever done on a bench press, I think still to this day, that makes me the only person to bench press 1,000 pounds more than his body weight. It's kind of cool. I weighed 315 when I did that. So it's kind of wild. I'm still I'm not reliving it every day. Sometimes I have to stop and think about it and go, that was a good fucking day. Thomas, you heard about the USPA swamp that got open this weekend? Jesus fuck. Yeah, I talked about it at the beginning. I didn't want to spend much time on it. I just basically said I just said my piece with it. I said for the last few years, I've been talking how much I hate the USPA, my bad experiences. I've not said a good thing about them in 3 or 4 years. I don't support them at all. I don't. So all this shit coming to, it's just like, I just got a bowl of popcorn and I'm just sitting back watching the show. That's all I'm doing. I'm not commenting. I'm not saying anything. I'm saying something now, but I'm just gonna watch. I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy the show. So that's what I feel on that. I wanted to show really quick. I talked about this stuff before. This is making a huge fucking difference with my hands, man. You can imagine what 13, 14, almost 1,500 pounds does to my palms and the skin on my palms. I started using Duke Cannon, if you can see that on YouTube right there, Duke Cannon Bloody Knuckles. And this shit has been really helping my skin. Oftentimes what happens, I've got just the thickest calluses here in my palms of my hands. What happens is this shit gets fucking dried out. And it's not supple. And it's like stiff as a board sometimes. It just fucking hurts. When I put a bar in my hands plus the wraps, pushing my palm up and deforming my skin and whatever, that's oftentimes my limiting factor in some of these workouts is I cannot stand the pain in my skin anymore. So I started putting Bloody Knuckles. It's just a cream, just a balm. Yeah, you can't really see that. It's reflective, but it's white. It's a white balm. And I've been adding that to the skin on my palms about once or twice a day. And it's keeping it recovered, healed, and keeping it kind of supple so that it actually can move and be compressed without being under a lot of pain. It's kind of like the hot taffy to cold taffy kind of analogy. Like cold taffy will break, but warm taffy will not break. It'll move and kind of contort and not break in half. That's kind of what that skin feels like sometimes. It's it's actually like hard, like rock solid skin, and it just fucking hurts like a son of a bitch. So I wanted to give them another shout out as well. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm just simply saying like Bloody Knuckles is a good fucking product, especially for what we do to our bodies and our skin. Mike, on you board presses, how many board heights you do in a workout? I typically pick a board and stick to it the entire workout. Like I'll have a goal in mind, like I want to hit this or that off of a half board or a one board. Or if I'm on my non-equipped day or my not shirted day, I'll say, okay, I want to hit 2 board extensions and do, 1,000 for this or 1,100 for this or whatever it is. So I don't really, now if we do tricep murder, which happens once in a while, we will work up and down the boards, because tricep murder is where you say you start out full range doing close grip or reverse grip or something like that, something that's tricep dominant. You do like 3 reps or 5 reps full range. Let's stick a 1 board in there, 3 or 5 reps, 2 board, 3, 5 reps, 3, 4, 5 board, whatever. You work your way back up and down the boards. It really fucking sucks. It's not a written rule, but one of those fun like group rules we had for a minute was if one person in our group wants to do tricep murder, then we all have to do it. It's just one of those like wrenches in our training to kind of like change things up and make them interesting and challenging as well, Full meat lifter, drug free. How do you feel about band shirt every week? I agree with it. Absolutely. Drew 2220 is asking, full meat lifter, drug free. How do you feel about band shirt every week? Do it until you feel like shit or you start going backwards. If you start going backwards, you start feeling you're too beat up, then you have to back off maybe every other week. But for me, even when I was full power, when I fucking hated every minute of it back in the day, I still shirted up now band shirts weren't a thing back when I was doing full power. It was still just poly and denim. So I did shirt work every single week because it's so technical. You have to practice it all the time. Band shirts are a little less technical than poly or denim, but not by much. So you have to practice. You have to get good at it, get proficient with it, and know how to do it. If you do it once a month, it's not going to be enough. Twice a month, still not enough. If you can hack it, coming from drug-free to drug-free, if you can hack it, do it every single week until you start going backwards. He still says, I find it's way easier to recover than poly. I can do it more than 3 in a row, poly. Yeah, I can't do more than 3 in a row, poly. Gotcha. Yeah, dude, just, if it's not that hard on the body, then I would just keep doing it every week. Oh, Sam's on here. What's up, Sam? You said on Elite FTS, you squat to help your bench. Correct. Do you feel squatting raw versus equipped matters for that? Not really, because squatting, period, puts a lot of weight on the back muscles and structure, and that's where I'm gaining more prowess in the bench, is from the back stimulation of squatting, period. So me personally, because we all have the freedom to choose, right? I just do. You're welcome, Drew. I just do equipped. Like I got 2 pairs of single ply briefs I'm fucking around with right now. No knee wraps, no knee sleeves, just a pair of briefs and a belt. I'm doing that because A, I just don't like training raw. B, equipped, I can put even more weight on my back, which means even more growth, which means even more back for the bench. And C, I eventually am, quote me, don't quote me, go ahead and quote me, fuck it. I am going to get back into full power, and I want to do it equipped. So I'm doing all that kind of prep work right now where I'm doing equipped style lifts now with specialty bars. No straight bar crap, fuck that. But I'm doing like cambered bar, safety squat bar, Mars bar, belt squat, equipped, because that's what I want to get into. Those other 2 benefits, like I said, there's just more weight on my back structure, which will be more growth, more back for the bench, and bigger bench. You could argue legs as well, but I'm doing it mostly for the back stimulation. Shirt weekly and triceps really hard on Wednesday. Should I do this? I think so. Like I said, like I was telling Drew earlier, I think shirting up weekly is the smartest way to do it, to get really good at it. And triceps hard on Wednesday. Make sure that your tricep work, this is what I had to change. I was doing tricep work on Wednesdays and then doing like more pressing and more bodybuilding stuff on Saturdays. And Saturdays are my big, heavy shirted bench day. The thing is, if I do a lot of heavy triceps on Wednesdays, I only have 2 days to recover before I bench in my equipment really heavy. That wasn't really working for me. My triceps were too sore and my elbows were too sore. So I switched it. So now I do my heavy tricep work on Saturdays, which gives me Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 3 full days to recover before my Wednesday workout. So just make sure that it's spaced out correctly. If you're going to do heavy triceps, then don't bench again for at least those 3 days. If it's the 2-day break, then I would just do more like dumbbell pressing, rear delts, just like pressing motions, and maybe light triceps, but the heavy triceps, save that for the day that you have like the most break before the next bench. Martinez says, "Hi, Jimmy. How are you? I'm fantastic. I hope you're doing well. Also, for a raw lifter, how would you suggest to add the Widowmaker?" Thank you. Limited. I would not do it very often. Do it maybe every 3rd or 4th week for overload purposes. If you're feeling, or if you feel like shit and don't want to train raw because it's hard on the pecs and the shoulders or some shit, throw it in. But mostly do it for overload purposes, tricep purposes. If you use more weight off of boards and stuff or lockouts with a Widowmaker on, you can gain more tricep strength, which can carry over to the raw bench. But if you start relying on it too much, then you're going to run into problems. And your raw bench won't go very far. So just do it limited. Don't do it too often. And Mike says, I'm doing bench only. Okay. So 2 bench days a week. If it lines up like Wednesdays and Saturdays, like I said, Wednesday to Saturday, you only have 2 days to recover. Saturday to Wednesday, you have 3 days to recover. So make sure you time that tricep work correctly. You don't want to train triceps before your heavy bench day with only 2 days of rest. Make sure you have at least 3 days of rest to give those elbows a break or enough recovery time. That was one big thing I decided. That's what I do with my athletes too. The ones that I coach online and stuff, which I don't coach a lot. I have like 3 right now that I coach like online or through text and stuff. I was up to like 7 or 8 at one point. Now I'm down to like 3, which is very manageable for me. I'm also not a very good coach. I know how to train myself. I know what I need. So I just kind of project my style of training onto others and I burn them out. And I feel really fucking bad. So what I do now is I stay in contact with these guys weekly. Like, how you feeling? How you doing? Do you need a break? Because I don't take breaks. I don't take deloads. I just lift heavy all the fucking time. That's how I've always done it. Some people can't do that. I don't realize that. I burn them out. They'll start coming up, going up, PR, peak, and then start going down real fucking quick. Fast decline. Top of the mountain, and they're going down the steep, slippery slope on the other side. So I have to really back off and be like, how do you feel? Do you want to train heavy this week? Do you feel like going lower on the boards? Do you feel like hitting heavy singles? I got to keep close contact because I've burned, even in person, I've burned people out. I just feel bad. Just feel bad about that. Bullshit, Paul says. I don't know. I don't give myself enough credit maybe, but tell them to eat more. You do great, Paul says. Well, thank you. Paul is one of my athletes. Paul and Pat from Florida. And I've also got David Harrington from Oklahoma. That's it for now. I was training Chris Jividen. I was training Tara Green Weber. Those are the ones that I can remember. There was a fellow at our gym named Jake, but he's very sporadic. He's in once in a while, so it's very hard to work with him. So I think next time he wants to work with me, he's just going to work with me. I'm not going to like charge him. I'm not going to like coach him, like charge him to coach. I'm just going to have him work with me because I can't charge somebody and consciously not have them like, if he's never there, I'm not going to have you. I'm not going to take money from you. When you show up, I'll help you. That's just how I'm going to do it with Jake, because I'm not going to charge him again with being a little inconsistent. Anyhow, but thank you, Paul. I appreciate the words of encouragement. That makes me feel better. It's just hard. It's hard because, like I said, I know how to train for me. I know what I need. But I've not hurt people, but I've definitely worn them out, and then they just start going down that hill real quick. So I'm glad that you and Pat are doing very well. Dave was doing very well also. I'm not trying to bring the subject up again, but his meat director, the state chair or the meat director for the USPA in Oklahoma, decided to cancel all his meats in the tri-state area, like Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. He canceled all his fucking meats. So like that meat he was going to do in like 6 or 8 weeks is no longer happening. So that's like, oh, well, shit, what are we going to do now? So, but he's doing real well also. And Mike says earthquake bar weekly. Actually, yes, multiple times a week on non-bench days, I think. Non-bench days. So I'll do bamboo bar, earthquake bar on my squat days, on the back days, but I don't want to do that on my bench days. But yeah, at least twice a week, I would do high rep on the earthquake bar. Drew 220 again. Any advice to get forearms, in parentheses, bone, stronger outside of pressing heavy? I mean, that's the most surefire way. It's just consistent heavy bench pressing is going to increase your bone density. Now, there's other ways to make bone denser. Like when I was in the martial arts, I'm sure this is all over YouTube as well, like the Kung Fu Shaolin monks and stuff, breaking granite and bricks with their bare hands and their fingertips and stuff. But if you hit a bone repeatedly on a firm or hard surface, that can break down the bone structure and have it rebuilt stronger as well. Bone is kind of cool. It's calcium structures, and they're like little arches, looks like porous, almost like sponge. And the more it's abused and used and hit and repeat, or like under constant stress, those structures kind of break down, and the body rebuilds the bone harder and denser than it was before. And with time, that's those four-letter word, TIME, time. With time, your bone can become literally just naturally. Here's another cool thing about bone. Bone's very interesting. I think, no, I know for a fact, pound for pound, ounce for ounce, our bones are stronger than steel. Just your everyday person's bones, pound for pound, ounce for ounce, are stronger than steel. Now, obviously, steel can break your bones, but that's, a 5-pound sledge is a lot denser and stronger than like just a few ounces of your natural bone. So, but the more you use your bones, squatting, benching, or in the case of these martial artists, like I was for for 7 years, back when I was younger, we would do that to train for breaking boards, breaking things, whatever. We would hit stuff. We would punch walls over and over, not hard, but like eventually working up to hitting it hard, over and over and over again to build bone density. I'm not going to tell you to go outside and start like hitting your arms off of trees every day to try to increase just be consistent on the heavy weights. Just be in the gym consistently lifting heavy weights, and slowly, over that 4-letter word, over time, your bones will become extraordinarily dense and will adapt to all the heavy loads. So far, I've tested my bone density strength up to 1,463 pounds. It's the heaviest weight I've handled in the gym so far. It was 1,450 when I went up to Rob Farrell's gym in Pennsylvania. And then about 2 months later, I handled 1,463. And I have no fractures, nothing wrong, no abnormal bowing or anything. So bone is pretty fucking incredible. You just have to use it all the time. That's the problem with the astronauts that spend like 6 to 8 months in space at the International Space Station. They have no gravity, no strain on their bones, except for the exercises they do every day. So they have like, jump stretch bands and these machines that provide resistance because there's no gravity. So there's no actual weight, but they have to exercise like 2 to 3 hours a day just to kind of try to maintain their muscle mass and their bone density. If you don't use bone, you will lose it. Similar to muscle. You don't use it, you lose it. So that's the same thing with bone. So just keep that in mind. That's one of those things with these new band shirts that people kind of didn't realize. Like, just because just because a shirt might allow you to go up and handle a specific amount of weight doesn't mean you probably should, at least not right away. Again, that time thing. If you have a 700-pound poly bench, and that's already, say, 250 pounds above your raw bench, 250-pound overload. You throw a band shirt on, now you can bench 9. An additional 200 pounds. I mean, you got to think about your bone structure at some point. People were starting to snap their forearms in half. I'm not going to bring up his name because I hate bringing it up because it was a tragic event, but a friend of mine snapped his arm. The most weight he had handled in the gym and or at a meet was like 633 pounds, somewhere in that range. And he put on a band shirt and he went up to 920 and his forearm snapped in half. Both bones snapped in half, clean. And luckily they snapped, not like backwards. They just kind of shattered. So the bones kind of stayed together like that. So he pushed the weight. He was coming down with the weight. They snapped. He pushed the weight back up. So he just kind of pushing the broken bones into one another, pushed the weight up. When he let go of the bar, now his arm went bleh and fell backwards. So that shit's real. That actually happened. He called me, that funny motherfucker. He called me on the operating table. He was like high on drugs and all these shitty they were pumping into him. And he was like, hey, man, I'm going in for surgery. And I was like, yeah, okay, for what? And he told me the story. And I was like, dude, how the fuck, So you have to take that into consideration. You just have to, because shit can happen. Drew says, I use 5% every 2-week rule on those band shirts and hammer everyone on wrist position. Yes. The thing is too, and I think this is what my friend did, which is not good, but if you're trying to tuck, so I'm going to try and be in frame here. You got the weight in your hands, this is the stack position just for sake of argument. If you're trying to tuck your elbows, you can't just tuck, and so that's what happened. He was tucking, but he was having the weight be his forearms were no longer stacked. They started to lean backwards because he was trying to tuck early. So he didn't tuck this way, he tucked this way. And that created that shearing force that blew his arm in half. So a 5% increase every 2 weeks is fine. I had the benefit of working up to in excess of 1,300 pounds. And again, over 14 years. But I was handling up to 1,300 pounds or slightly above it in my polys. So when I got into the band shirts, going up to 12, 13, 14 was not a big deal because I had come very close to those weights in my polys before that. So it wasn't like I was a 1,000 pounds flat bencher and poly and then went straight to 1,300. Like I had been training with weights 12, 1250, 13. I think my heaviest weight I handled in a poly was 1302 or 1303, something weird. And so that I had that benefit that I had handled those kind of loads before hopping into the band shirts. Now those weights became more regular. Now like my working weight doesn't start until I get above 1,300 pounds. Like that is my minimum working weight these days. This 1,300 and up. So that is different. Like I was handling those loads more often. But besides that, nothing else really changed. Let's see. Thomas says, but bones are very weak on rotation. Yes. So that's the thing too. Like a lot of these circus acts that happened back in like the 50s and 40s, right? These tiny little 150-pound guys that could support like 20 full-grown men on their backs and stuff. They were just mostly doing support lifts. It wasn't like they were lifting a lot of weight, but they were supporting. They were supporting a lot of weight on their bone structure and their joints. Well, I think what Thomas is saying is that bones are weak on a rotation. So when we're bench pressing, we're pressing in just one straight line. There is no twisting, more or less. That's why arm wrestling fucking weirds me out sometimes, man, because I just don't understand. I understand getting force this way. I understand this. I don't understand how you create force sideways. I don't understand. And then the other, they're twisting and they're doing all this shit. I've seen, it was even in, what's that movie with Stallone? Over the Top. You guys remember that fucking movie from like the 80s or something? He was the arm wrestler. His name was, Hawk? Was it Hawk? Nathan Hawk, I think. Yeah. Your nose hurt, Hawk? Yeah, it was Nathan Hawk. And he was the arm wrestler. And in that movie, there's a real arm break. You'll have to look at it. At the end of the movie, at the big like final like tournament, there's a real arm break. The guy's in a break arm position, and the guy slams him down to the pad, and you see his bicep like jump across his arm. He actually broke his arm in the film. There's no way they could have faked that. That was a real fucking arm break. So that's. Blah. I'm also a huge Devin Larratt fan, so I don't know if anybody is familiar with arm wrestling or not, but love Devin from Canada. Yeah, I think he's just fucking wild and almost unbeatable. I think he's only been beat a handful of times in the top end of his career. Saxon says, displacing weight onto the wrist, pronation, supination. I'm not sure, Saxon. Displacing weight onto the wrist, pronation, supination. Okay. Is that a point, or are you asking a question? I'm lost on the context, but I want to know what you mean. Pertaining to the arm wrestling comp. Oh, I see. Displacing weight onto the wrist, pronation, supination. I got you. Okay. Was just adding Thank you. I wasn't sure what you meant, but I appreciate the context. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, over the top. That's what the movie was. Thomas says that's why in BJJ leg locks, if they don't like BJJ, what's that? Oh, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If they don't tap, it's easy as fuck to snap their femur, strongest, thickest bone of the body, upper leg. Snap a baseball in half like it's a 1-inch twig. Oh, because they're twisting, I suppose. That's what you mean. The bone's being twisted. Yeah. I think the Mythbusters. What a great show. What a good fucking show. Mythbusters. I miss that shit. I need to look that shit up on YouTube and start watching it again. They were testing bone. I think they had a femur. If I'm not mistaken, they had a human femur, and they put it across 2 blocks, and they had a weight mechanism with an arm that came down to the bone and sat there. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, it was years ago, I think they loaded the weight machine up to 600 pounds. And this is point pressure. Like a single little cylinder, like a metal cylinder, resting on this leg bone. And I'm pretty sure they had to load up 600 pounds of point pressure before that bone burst, like snapped in half. So I'm pretty like that's a testament right there to how strong bone can actually be. And that was just a human, like that was just a bone. It wasn't like a living tissue or anything. That was just the dead bone. And Thomas says, yep, that's what I mean with rotational forces on the bones. That's why they say tap or snap. Ooh, okay, that's why. Gotcha. Cool, guys. So anyway, there's some updates for you. It is January 23rd. So we have about 8 or 9 days before the Kolb Strong Scholarship application process comes to a screeching halt. And we will not accept any more applications after the 31st of January. In the month of February, we'll be reviewing the applications for all of the young athletes applying for this Kolb Strong Scholarship. That's $1,000 a piece, and we'll be cutting checks. We got 12 athletes to sponsor this year. 12 young athletes will receive $1,000 checks from us from the Kolb Strong Scholarship this year. So look for that, updates and stuff coming in. We have like less than 10 days, I'm pretty sure, and 7, 8, it's like 8 days now. 12 athletes. So we should probably cut those checks. Like I said, it should be February before we head to the Arnold. It just depends on how many we have to review with our board of people and find out who is going to get these $1,000 checks. So thank you all again for participating. If you participated in one of our fundraisers, if you donated, there was a shitload of donations. Again, we raised $3,000 the first year. We raised $12,000 the second year. It literally quadrupled. We had no idea it was going to blow up this much. $12,000. It was actually in excess of $12,000, maybe $12,300. So that excess above that grand mark will just get carried over to this year. So we're already kind of ahead for the next year. There's no real benchmark on what we want to raise. I mean, we would love to see like at least $10,000 each year. But if we raise 3 and then 12 and then 5 and then 6 and then 2 and then 1, whatever it is, as long as we're able to help somebody in any amount, that's what it's all about, is giving back and trying to help that younger generation. That's, again, the teenage and junior divisions of powerlifting. So the 13 to 23-year-olds are the ones who are receiving these checks. So the young powerlifters, of course. So that is a good update for you. I'm going to go ahead and call. It's been an hour, 15 minutes, and 7 seconds. So that was a good benching and bullshitting. I'm happy to be on here, going live on Instagram and YouTube, answering questions. So please have a good rest of your day and your week. I usually do this on Sundays. I had particular circumstances. I could not come on here live last night. That's why I'm doing it here on this fine Monday night. So look for me next week. Next week will be 1 week out from the competition I'm doing in Hurricane, West Virginia. So, all right, good to go. I will see you all next time. Have a good week, and take care.